If your teenage daughter has ever rolled her eyes at you or yelled, "You don't understand," and do you know anyone who hasn't? I don't know any. Then you'll want to hear what our next guest has to say. Roni Cohen-Sandler is the author of a new book, I'm Not Mad, I Just Hate You, which focuses on the age-old conflict between mothers and daughters. And she joins us along with an expert on all of this, her own 15-year-old daughter, Laura. And we're so glad to see you both this morning. Dr. Cohen-Sandler, tell me, what is at the center of this extremely intense relationship between mothers and daughters?
Well, mostly it has to do with development, Diane. Teenage daughters are trying to figure out who they are, and so they're looking at their mothers to decide what they like and what they don't like. So mothers feel very scrutinized and sometimes even rejected by their daughters. They're told everything they say and do is so wrong.
But how is it different from boys? We can feel that it's so much more fiery and explosive than it is between mothers and sons.
Well, girls tend to be more emotional, first of all. And second of all, there's more of an identity issue. Girls can relate to their mothers and mothers can relate to their daughters. And mothers bring to this relationship an intensity also, because we used to be teenage girls also. And so some of our unresolved conflicts and feelings come back to the surface, sometimes without our being aware of it.
So tell me, you've got a professional for a mother. Do you ever say, "You don't understand me"?
Oh, I do all the time.
You do?
I think it's so normal, and maybe she does, and I'd like to think that she doesn't, but I do say that all the time, sometimes unfairly.
All right, I want to talk about some specific things that mothers and daughters deal with. We have a couple of tapes. We went out on the street to interview people.
Right.
Going to roll the first one here and just listen to what some of these people had to say.
One thing I would change about my mom would be if just for her not to be so pushy.
I would rather have her as a mother figure than a friend.
For her to be more lenient and for her just to give me more freedom.
Maybe she could be a bit more supportive in some of the things I do.
Although she was a teenager, it's kind of been a while now, so I wouldn't say that she necessarily remembers all the things that comes along with being a teenager.
So what do you hear when you listen to that?
Well, I hear all the typical, normal things that girls say about their mothers. They have an idea in their minds how they want their mothers to be. And mothers also have in their minds an idea of how they want their daughters to be.
But what about specifically this notion of being friends? That if she'd just be my friend...
Right. Well, I disagree with that. I think that in my daughter's case, she has plenty of friends. And what she needs, for example, growing up, is she needs a mother. If a mother is so afraid of losing her daughter's friendship, then she's going to be afraid to set limits and do the things that a mother needs to do during these years.
All right, I want to roll the next tape, and then, Laura, I want you to react to that one.
Okay.
If there was one thing I could change about my teenage daughters is the fact that they're always whining.
Well, I don't like her staying out late.
I would like to see her have more self-confidence.
I would keep her at the age she is today and not let her grow up on me too fast.
That's for sure.
So,
I do think
what do you say?
Well, I do think that's true. Sometimes my mom thinks I do whine a lot. And patience is another thing that my mom wishes I had more.
One of the things you all have is the 20-second rule, right?
Right.
Tell me about that.
That was your idea.
You tell me about that.
The 20-second rule is this. You know, teenage girls hate being lectured to. And there's nothing worse than a daughter hearing a mother sort of wind up and say, "Oh, when I was your age," or "My mother never would have let me talk to you that way."
And it's going to go on and on.
And on and on and on. And so they turn off. And so the 20-second rule is this. If you have something to say to your daughter, say it in 20 seconds or less so that she gets the gist of it before she tunes out.
All right, I'm going to run through 3 other things that are really good tips for people. Take your emotional temperature. What's that mean?
That means the mother, before she confronts her daughter with something, she should make sure that she is in control emotionally, that she can think clearly. That's something to model for her daughter.
Choose your battles carefully.
Right. You don't want to focus on every trivial issue or annoyance, or else your daughter will have, and you will have, no emotional energy to deal with the really important matters.
And impart the message in a receptive manner?
That's right. You don't want to be sarcastic or critical or hostile. If you have something to say to your daughter, try to say it in a positive way. For example, you want to say, "I'd really like us to get along better, so could you please use a nice tone of voice?" Instead of, you know, "You're the worst daughter imaginable, I can't stand listening to you."
And of course, the other thing is to remember that it's part of growing up and separating and forming your own identity. So in some sense, you can embrace it.
That's right.
But it's harder than we think sometimes.
It's very hard. But try to remember to enjoy your daughter and to also have a sense of humor about things.
All right. We haven't rolled your eyes once during this interview. I'm very proud of you.
Me too.
Our thanks to both of you for coming in. Good
Thanks
tips.
for having us.
And coming up next, Delicious Harmony in the Kitchen. You wrote us demanding more of our low-fat recipes, and we're going to accede to your demands.